All right, we live, brothers. Somebody want to check the stream just to make sure our audio is good. Uh, Start. All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor that's due to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Hashem, Shai. I want to give double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, peace and blessing to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect. Shalom Barakatam. We are the brothers at Great Millstone, Kansas City, coming to preach the downfall of America and to break down to you the things that are happening in the earth that's going to lead to what we're going to call the MOTB. Which you should know what that word means if you've been following, really any brother of the Great Millstone, because we're getting closer to those times, and our enemies are making very devious plans to ensnare all of us, man. So we're gonna get a couple videos, and then we'll react to them to show you exactly where this thing is heading. Because I'll get this verse, unless any brother got the precept as well, you can back me up. This is Habakkuk 2, and 2 it says, "And the Lord Yahweh answered me and said," actually verse 1, it says, "I will stand up on my watch and set me upon the tower. I will watch to see what he will say unto me, and I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord Yahweh answered me and said, Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it." So that's the point, and that's what we're here to do, is to parse through the things that you see in the news and break them down as a warning for the sheep. Anybody got a precept? If not, we'll
if you can read that next verse, bro. Slaki.
Oh yeah, kind of. Habakkuk 2 and 3. It says, "The vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry."
So we actually seeing it play out before our very eyes right now. It's just happening, boldly. It's undoubtable, that we hear in this time they really about to start pushing this thing, because I was just talking with the brother Rakai. We did sit down last week. We were talking about as soon as we start seeing this thing being advertised on television, we know we're there. And I came across a video, 2 days ago that they actually played Call of Duty with their fucking thoughts with this device in their head. So
yeah, see. And the RFK already came out and said we're going to do the biggest marketing campaign we've ever done for these new wearables, So all of these things are coming out in rapid succession, man. So, we're definitely in those times.
Yeah.
All right. I'll share this screen if brother got a precept for the Fly Brothers.
I got a real quick one to back that up. This is Ezekiel 12 and 22. It says, "Son of man, what is that proverb that ye have in the land of Israel, saying the days are prolonged and every vision faileth? It says, Tell them, therefore, thus saith the Lord power, I will make this proverb to cease, and they shall no more use it as a proverb in Israel, but say unto them, the days are at hand and the effect of every vision." And I grabbed that because we just went into Habakkuk 2, all right, where scriptures pretty much said the vision, though it tarried, over 2,000 years ago it tarried, but now we're in a time to where we're seeing the effect of it, man. All right, we're seeing that the vision is being made plain, all right, and that this system is literally being set up right before our eyes, man. That's why they got the the perfect people, Peter Thiel, and these particular puppets, all right, in place to bring this technocratic society to pass, man. Going into the video, the brother's about to go into, man.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that demon. Peter Thiel. That's a bomb building right there. I don't know if y'all seen that. Straight demon.
Yeah, I checked it out. Yeah.
But this is from the Jimmy Dore show. This is listen close what they're talking about. All right. Let's see.
This is a developmental system made by MC10, and it has an antenna and some sensors embedded in it. And what we plan to do is work with them to advance a tattoo that could be used for authentication.
let me show you this, a video of Regina Dugan. Now, she is the former director of Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. That's at DARPA, which is a military defense establishment here in the United States. Listen to what she said most recently. This is chilling.
A means of authentication that you could simply wear on your skin every day for a week at a time, say an electronic tattoo. Now, we're talking about wearables. Everybody's interested in I'm profoundly interested in wearables. And what I will tell you is that we've made a lot of advances in wearables, but there's still some fundamental problems that we haven't solved. Like one of them is the mechanical mismatch between humans and electronics, right? So electronics are boxy and rigid, humans are curvy and soft. That's a mechanical mismatch problem. Well, a researcher at the University of Illinois, his name is Dr. Rogers, what he discovered is that he could use standard CMOS techniques to make islands of high-performance silicon connected by accordion-like structures that would allow it to stretch up to 200% and still be performing. And what he did is he founded a company and they started making electronic tattoos. So I'm wearing one here on my arm.
Do we have a camera to get a...
This is a developmental system.
Yeah, she getting real now. Now Esau's advertising this on camera, and notice how she's softening things up, making it sound like it's going to be something that's so lucky. Can brothers hear me?
Yeah, Con.
She's softening things up to make it sound like this is going to not be a big deal. This is just the next evolution in technology. It'll be another convenience to make your life easier,
Yeah.
But they don't tell you that they've been the ones making your life harder. They're the reason you can't afford a house, and your woman don't respect you, And so now the ultimate solution is on the way now.
And if I may, they mentioned, RFK Jr., that information went out that he wanted every American pretty much to be sporting a wearable, quote unquote, a wearable within 4 years. And when they talk about wearables, man, they're not talking about a Fitbit, the Apple Watch, because that's what it started out as. But gradually it's progressed into this shit, man. This electronic tattoos and the shit that goes underneath the skin. And Americans wearing that.
Yeah, it's getting your data too. It's getting everybody comfortable giving things over, getting direct deposit, People don't cash check no more. All of these things have been slowly designed to get you and herd you over to this direction. But this is the book of Psalms, chapter 12, verse 2. It says, they speak vanity, everyone with his neighbor. With flattering lips and with a double heart do they speak. All right? Because they always try to sell you on it. But what is this really a tool of? It's a tool to enslave you. She's talking about swallowing a pill, man. That's going to have an 18-bit EKG signal in there. You can't unswallow something,
Right.
And so while they're advertising it to things to help you, it's really to just enslave you again,
Yeah, kind of, because it's like, I don't know, I was going to say, because the scriptures say even Satan transforms himself into an angel of light. So before they pull out these cruel measures, they always going to present it to you as life-saving. So this is just the start of it, because this is just basically the warm-up before the MOTB. The Apostle Tahar did the lesson. The RFK Jr. isn't the MOTB, but it's leading up to it. So there's only, one step left, but to get inside under your skin. It started with your cell phone. Now we going to the wearables, and then eventually it's just gonna be the C-hip.
Yeah, really, it's not even a wearable, because wearables, those go into like Apple Watches and rings and things. That's something you wear. Something you can take off. Now they talk about tattoos now, but they still using the word wearables. You know what I'm saying? So they sneaking it in there. It's a lot to go. So
I got a preset. This is 2 Corinthians 2:11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So you can't be ignorant as far as what this devil is ultimately going towards, which is that C-hip to go underneath the skin. Like the brother said, it's conditional programming. You start off with all these electronic devices. Now you go to certain places in New York. You gotta scan your hand to enter into the store, into like Whole Foods and Amazon Go. That's all conditional. And notice how they're really pushing, holding that arm out. Using your hand for shit like that. Why? Because they want to go. Eventually they're gonna make it mandatory to put the full tech, which is that C-hit, because that tattoo, that quote unquote wearable, yeah, it might got some abilities and things to do things with it, but it ain't as powerful technology wise as far as having the actual C-hit.
Yeah, that's right, brother.
Made by MC10, and it has an antenna and some sensors embedded in it. And what we plan to do is work with them to advance a tattoo that could be used for authentication. Now, it may be true that 10 to 20-year-olds don't want to wear a watch on their wrist, but you can be sure that they'll be far more interested in wearing an electronic tattoo, if only to piss off their parents. Right?
And that can have a design, right? Because
Sure.
they would certainly want some kind of cool design.
Options.
Yeah, you see, you can get that in gross darkness to people, bro. These people are so stupid. They just like, well, I can get it in a design, I can sell it to my kid. They're not even questioning like where things are going. That's why the scriptures speak about these people as the congregation of the dead, because they're not alarmed by this at all. This guy is set up, the audience is laughing, and half that audience can't even afford groceries.
Yeah, Con, if I got a real quick one. This is Psalms 12 and 2. It says, they speak vanity, everyone with his neighbor, with flattering lips, and with a double heart do they speak. The Lord Yahweh shall cut off all flattering lips and the tongue that speaketh proud things. But I grabbed that because, they speaking with flattering lips, man. She just pretty much tried to joke about it. Like, the teens are going to get this in defiance to their parents and shit, and they're trying to make light of it. But in reality, they're speaking with a double heart or a double mind because of the true sinister plot behind this shit, as we go into time and time again, is complete control, man. They're speaking flattering and, the crowd laughing and shit. The whole time they trying to take away your fucking freedoms.
Yeah, kind of. That's the spirit the second time it came out.
Kind
That's it.
And that's something that you wear, but you could also imagine including authentication in just your daily habits. So I take a vitamin every morning. What if I could take vitamin authentication?
What?
Vitamin authentication. Look, I have one right here. Well, here, I'll let you hold it. Would you like to hold it?
I'll hold it.
Okay. So this,
you guys see it?
This pill has a small chip inside of it with a switch. It also has what amounts to an inside-out potato battery. When
Really
you
small.
swallow it, the acids in your stomach serve as the electrolyte,
That's what I do.
and they power it up, and the switch goes on and off. And it creates an 18-bit ECG-like signal in your body, and essentially your entire body becomes your authentication token.
See that nigga?
Yes, this is true.
This nigga trying to put a whole fucking radio in you, man.
Right. Yeah.
The fuck?
And no reaction from the crowd. Like, this is like a Black Mirror episode, man.
Right.
Everybody just walking around with shit in their head,
Yeah.
Right.
And nobody, they just laying down taking it, man.
And I don't know if brothers have this at their job, but my job is requiring more authentication, like to get into like certain programs or get on like certain websites. You got to get like a code to your phone to authenticate who you are, and you type that shit in. That's for this shit, man. Because eventually they're just gonna have a fucking scanner at your desk, nigga. You gonna fucking scan your hand to verify it's you.
Yeah.
Right.
Some of the some of the your laptops, they got that section where you can actually scan like a QR on your laptop, because it's been my card has actually accidentally went by that section, and it's like a whole little QR thing, man. So even being able to get into your computer and shit, all that, you just gonna scan in, man.
Yeah, the Yawasop drop off.
Yeah. I don't see him backstage.
Oh, okay.
He might have lost signal or something. I'll bring it.
Yeah, I guess you just keep playing and just look out for him.
I'm looking out for him. So Isaiah 60:2, it says, "For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, gross darkness the people, but the Lord Yahweh shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee." You know, and that's why all of these people in the crowd can clap and laugh, because they're just monkeys, man. You know, these people are bots, man, and that's why when you go out, you got to be circumspect, because we stand out, man. You know, and most people are gonna go for this on the first round. But I'll keep going on this. Wish I got shit.
All right, you keep going.
People are plotting it.
Okay, but
Okay, so wait. So it's really true. So what this means is that becomes my first superpower. I really want this superpower. It means that my arms are like wires, my hands are like alligator clips. When I touch my phone, my computer, my door, my car, I'm authenticated in. First superpower. Like, I want that.
So we're not shipping that, right?
Yeah, you see that? It's a miracle, bro. You just touch the door handle of your, but people skip over all of the things she named that's gonna be tied into it, you know? See, that's what people skip over. You're the final piece. You know?
Yeah. Right away.
Yeah, no. We're not shipping that right away. But it sounds like
this is FDA cleared?
So here's the thing. This is not science fiction. This pill is actually made by a company called Proteus, and they've developed it for medical applications. That pill has been CE stamped and cleared by the FDA. You can take 30 of those per day for the rest of your life.
So that seems chilling, and the people there are giggling and applauding it. And this is what every quote unquote conspiracy theorist has been warning against for years. And here they are on stage bragging about that they have this technology. They're going to put chips inside your pills, so then you become that's the first step into transhumanism, as far as I'm concerned. They're going to put tattoos on you with antennas, so they can tell who. So this sounds like some kind of Orwellian nightmare. What do you say to this?
Well, that is actually very dangerous technology, because
that's the bulk of that. But you can see where this thing is going. You know.
Yeah, kind. Brothers always say Esau want to know all your fucking information, man. You want to know your blood pressure. You want to know how much, you know. You want to know your fucking red blood cell count. And you know, brothers made the joke. Esau even want to know how many times you fucking stroke your woman, man. So that's just what he's gonna do to get that info. You know,
yeah, he's a dissector, man. He's a weirdo. You know, but this is that guy. He's the artificer, man. But this is share this. This is Revelation chapter 13, verses. I started at 11. I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had two horns like a lamb and spake as a dragon, because all of this is going to be passed through the policies like the big, beautiful bill, which is about to be the start of all of this. Which he passed a lot of this under your throats, under this red, blue paradigm. But when you analyze the bill and see what he put in there, this nigga's a dragon, man. That's a dragon. Okay? How do you think he's going to get this passed? Okay. You know? Convincing you this is in your best interest when it's in your worst, you know? But verse 12, it says that he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Okay, that shows you that the Roman Empire is back, and that's what this is. All right, it says, verse 13, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. All right, that goes into those fighter jets, the missiles, the nuclear weapons. He's developed ever since the nukes came out. His technology and all of this shit is ramped up at an exponential rate ever since then. You know, because you were riding horse and buggy about 120 years ago.
Yeah.
And now, you know, you're looking at flying cars. You got AI. You got, you know, things that'll do farm work for you. You know, and these are part of those miracles. Verse 14 says, and he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. And so when she used that term superpower, it made me think of RFK talking about that worldwide campaign they're going to do for the wearables. They're going to market these things as spiritual powers, you know, to get people in.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot of left-hand miracles taking place. There's a lot of people gonna flock to it, man, because the brother Yawasop, you did that lesson, I think, going into Elon Musk. Pretty much, they're looking to put the chip in people to give sight to the blind, like being completely blind, and it can do something with your cortex, and you being able to see again, man, or a fucking paraplegic being able to walk. With this technology, a lot of people are going to flock to that, man. But those are left-hand miracles. Esau trying to imitate, the right-hand side, man. What Yahweh Shah and the disciples did, Esau's going to do it by means of transhumanism.
That's right.
Okay.
It says that they should make an image to the beast that which had a womb by the sword and did live. He had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So that's going to be the backhand. You got the carrot and you got the stick. They're going to sell it to you on one hand. But eventually, everybody that don't want to take it, you ain't got no choice. You're going to have to bow down to this thing, man. And you have to get with them with their program if you want to live.
Yep. And it's going to be an international thing. It's just not happening in America, man, because they just had that NATO meeting. I believe it was last week. So, you have councils set up to do everything at the same time, internationally.
That's right. Bring me to this next double here, man.
Peter Thiel.
This nigga Peter Thiel, man. They always dress like they make $30,000 a year. This nigga's a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
He's deceptive, but I think I got it to the right mark. But this is him getting questioned or interviewed about this rhetoric that he has about the Antichrist. So the backdrop is Peter Thiel. This guy has funded all types of tech startups. There's an HBO TV show about him called Silicon Valley, where he's like the funding hedge fund guy that's funding all of these nerd startup groups. Okay, Mark Zuckerberg is his protege. So that's who this guy is. He's basically, his whole career has been technocracies, and building up things in the background. He runs Palantir.
Yeah.
And on the pessimistic side, it accelerates them because they know it's now or never if they don't grab Taiwan now.
That, we'll pull on the religion thread a little bit here. You have been giving talks recently about the concept of the Antichrist, which is a Christian concept, an apocalyptic concept. What does that mean to you? What is the Antichrist?
How much time do we have?
We've got as much time as you have to talk about the Antichrist.
All right. Well, I could talk about it for a long time. I think there's always a question. How do we articulate, some of these existential risks, some of the challenges we have, and they're all framed as sort of runaway dystopian science text. There's a risk of nuclear war. There's a risk of environmental disaster, maybe something specific like climate change, although there are lots of other ones we come up with. There's a risk of, bioweapons. You have all the different sci-fi scenarios. Obviously, there are certain types of risks with AI. But I always think that if we're going to have this frame of talking about existential risks, perhaps we should also talk about the risk of another type of a bad singularity, which I would describe as the one world totalitarian state. Because I would say the political solution, the default political solution people have for all these existential risks is one world governance. What do you do about nuclear weapons? We have a United Nations with real teeth that controls them, and they're controlled by an international political order. And then something like this, is also what do we do about AI? And we need global compute governance. We need a one world government to control all the computers, log every single keystroke to make sure people don't program a dangerous AI. And I've been wondering whether that's sort of a going from the frying pan into the fire. And so the eighth.
Now notice all of the shit he's talking about, you got to worry about. He's put money behind it, man. He's like, what do we do with AI? Well, you've been making AI, What do we do about it now? Now we need something to govern it. It's going to get out of control. You see, this is that order out of chaos. That how these devils speak, man.
Yeah.
You know, this nigga's a high level demon, and he sounds like soft, like he don't do nothing crazy. But that nigga's a demon, man.
Right.
Yeah, they telling you about the solution before the problem even fucking shows up, man.
Right. Now he's like, what do we do about it? You got, now it's talking about we, but he's already passed policies and had things like the Patriot Act passed, so they can just openly spy on you, man.
Right.
One world government. He was up to something. Yeah, one world government. You know?
Theist philosophical framing is one world or none. That was a short film that was put out by the Federation of American Scientists in the late 40s. It starts with a nuclear bomb blowing up the world, and obviously you need a one world government to stop it, one world or none. And the Christian framing, which in some ways is the same question, is Antichrist or Armageddon. You have the one world state of the Antichrist, or we're sleepwalking towards Armageddon. One world or none, Antichrist or Armageddon, on one level are the same question. Now, I have a lot of thoughts.
Can you pause it out? So when he's talking about that one world or none, you got to have a MOTB to operate in society, man. Either you're going to get down and get a fucking C-hip in your hand, or you're not going to have a fucking world. You're going to have to scrape it up. And ultimately, eventually we'll have to rely on Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah. But, things are going to be more uncertain for the ones that don't have a chip.
Yeah, that's right, man. We're going to be as pilgrims on the earth, as the scriptures say, And that's why that precursor to that in 70 AD, the Lord gave us the instructions. He said, don't grab any of your belongings, just flee to the mountains, So we're going to have to be back in that spirit. But I got that Psalms 10 real quick. This whole chapter really goes in on it. But I'll start at verse 1. It says, why standest thou afar off, O Lord Yahweh? Why hidest thyself in the times of trouble? And this is the time we're coming into in trouble, okay? It says, the wicked in his pride doeth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. But see, this is what this guy does. That's all he does all day is scheme, okay? He's spying on everybody. He's looking at text messages. He knows more about you than you do, picking up habits, crunching it through AI algorithms. And what are they planning to do? Why did the Georgia Guidestones get taken down back in 2020? Because these people, they plot and they scheme, but the Lord said they're going to be taken in their devices. It says, for the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blessed the covetous, whom the Lord Yahweh abhorreth. It says, the wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his thoughts. All right, so when this devil starts speaking about the Antichrist, man, you got to know that this nigga is up to something. Like, since when are you pro-science? The world is 4 billion years old to now you're talking about the scriptures, when we know the Most High is not in this guy's thoughts,
Got a real quick one to back you up. This is Job 5:14. It says, they meet with darkness in the daytime and grope in the noonday as in the night. All right, and that's the darkness. This whole little interview, man. This like we said, with the last video, they try to speak about it in a flattering manner, soft spoken, and not to try to reveal their true intentions, man. But this is complete control. They want to have your ass literally on a database, the Palantir shit, to where everything you do, man, is monitored, tracked, traced, and recorded.
That's right.
Yeah, Con.
Yeah, more.
Yeah, I got one more verse on that. It says, verse 15. It says, but he saveth the poor from the sword, from their mouth, and from the hand of the mighty. All right, and this is their mouth. The legislation and shit, that they're speaking of doing. Scriptures say, dealing with the elect, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep you from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world. Which shall try them upon the earth, man. And this is the hour of temptation. Pretty much, like we said, you're going to have to either get down with this man's program or be ready to be a pilgrim, man. And really just put your full faith and trust in Yahweh Bashmi Al-Shah to get us through this, man.
Well, I mean, you know, the true hour of temptation is when the MOTB is on the scene. But this is that lead up, man. It's only it's only months before, you know, after this shit becomes mainstream that the MOTB becomes mainstream.
Yeah. The scriptures speak about him getting sloppy and rushing, you know, and getting violent and out of pocket, you know. But if you go a little bit further in that Job, brother, it'll tell you about the six troubles like he was going into. You hear me?
Con. I think he kind of went.
Yeah, you keep going on that Job, brother. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Ra.
Yeah, just keep going on that Job.
You said keep
verse 19.
Oh, Salaki. Yeah, it cut out on my end. Salaki. Job 5:15 says, "But he saveth the poor from the sword, from their mouth, and from the hand of the mighty." It says, okay, my internet is moving slow right now.
It's all good, brother.
Verse 16, it says, "So the poor hath hope, and iniquity stoppeth her mouth. Behold, happy is the man whom the Most High corrected. Therefore despise not thou the chastening of the Almighty. For he maketh sore and bondeth up. He wounded, and his hands make whole. He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles. Yea, in 7 there shall no evil touch thee."
Right.
Yeah. Oh, you got it, Slacky.
No, I was just going to say that this is the time that we're coming into. Those 6 troubles represent these troubles that we're getting ready to go into. Those trumpets speaking about in Revelation, Jacob's trouble, man. This is the time where the Lord is going to have to lift up a standard to deliver us, man. Where supernatural intervention is going to be needed, spiritual powers are going to be needed. You know, those things. You got it out.
Yeah, kind. I was just saying off that precept, you know, that just proves that people are going to be living life without a fucking technocracy, man. You know, people are going to be operating in this world without taking the MOTB, and it's only going to be happening through the faith and power of Yahweh Shema Shah, man. You know, you need the Lord to not be reliant on this world, because he doesn't call us to do that anyways. You know, he calls us to be separate away from all this shit, you know.
That's right.
I can't have a precept. This is Ecclesiasticus 2:1. It says, "My son, if thou come to serve Yahweh, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end." Okay, so you got to really set your mind to be able to get through all of this stuff and just know that you're gonna be okay. You just got to endure. You got to make it through the test of the temptation that's going to be thrown at you, because there's going to be a lot of things that's going to entice you to try to go and take this damn device. You know, from being hungry and encountering dangerous events and stuff like that. You know, they're always going to try to give you an easy way out, saying, well, you know, you can go get this, but you got to stay on a course, man. And right now, spiritually, the Lord is kind of building up the brothers, you know, because when they go through very difficult times, you know, the Lord will kind of put you at rock bottom, but still provide the help, you know. And I experienced that, you know, as a quick testimony. Like last weekend, a weekend before last, you know, while I was at work, just randomly, this lady at work basically, you know, gave me some help out of nowhere and just said, "Hey, look, something just put me on my spirit to give you this as a seed, you know, and let's just send some prayers up for me and my family." And open it up, and it's exactly what I needed at that time, man. So just examples of that, you know, is how we're going to be taken care of in that day. Brothers might stumble across, you know, a stash of food, you know, some complete stranger. The Lord is going to put on a spirit to come in there and help you out in those times.
That's right. That's right. And that's going to be the worst time to not have faith, man. All right. You're going to need faith in that day. That's why the Lord prepared the disciples and the apostles over and over and over again. He was preparing them for a time of tribulation, which they all end up getting persecuted. But your faith got to be built up. This is about to be horrific what's getting ready to go down. Yeah.
Right.
On this topic.
Go ahead. Yeah, you played out. You played.
But sort of one question is, and this was a plot hole in all these Antichrist books people wrote. How does the Antichrist take over the world? It's he gives these demonic, hypnotic speeches, and people just fall for it. And so it's this plot hole. It's this daemonium.
Right. It's totally, it's implausible.
It's a very implausible plot hole.
Right.
But I think we have an answer to this plot hole. The way the Antichrist would take over the world is you talk about Armageddon nonstop. You talk about existential risk nonstop. And this is what you need to regulate. It's the opposite of the picture of Baconian science from the 17th, 18th century, where, you know, the Antichrist is like some evil tech genius, evil scientist who invents this machine to take.
In other words, it's not me. He's like, it's not going to be some evil tech genius. It's definitely not me. You see this nigga, how you talk, bro?
Yeah. And we know that there's not one single Antichrist, because the scriptures say there are many Antichrists, even up into that day, you know, the time of Yahweh Shah.
Yeah, I'll get that in 1 John.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, this guy speaks complete opposite, backwards, man. This is the book of 1 John, chapter 2, verse 18. It says, little children, it is the last time, as ye have heard that the Antichrist shall come. Even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. Okay, so that already proves right there is no need. This whole narrative, this Christian dogma, you know, they had you watching Left Behind as a kid. They making you think there's going to be one smooth talking Edomite or person that take over the world, you know, and then you're going to have 7 years to to repent, you know, and get right. No.
Yeah. Niggas, when YouTube first came out, niggas was making videos that Barack Obama was the Antichrist.
Right. Yeah. It says, 2 John, let's see. Yeah, 2 John 1 and 7, it says, for many deceivers are entered into the world who confess not Yahweh Shai, that is come into the flesh. This is a deceiver and an antichrist. So that's what an antichrist is. You trying to go against Yahweh Shai, or you trying to deceive or come up some other way. Maybe you think you Yahweh Shai. You're the antichrist, man. That's what that means. Okay.
Well,
so
yeah, that's Salakia.
You got it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, and that perfectly describes Esau, man. Because when you go into Second Thessalonians 2, you know, it says he opposed and exalted himself above all that is called God, and that is to be worshipped. And that's him with his technocracy, you know, looking to be God, man. He wants a one world government controlled by AI, and everybody subordinate under him with a chip, you know, where he can fucking play God. And that perfectly describes this devil.
Yeah.
Take over the world. People are way too scared for that. In our world, the thing that has political resonance is the opposite. It is the thing that has political resonance is we need to stop science. We need to just say stop to this. And this is where, I don't know, in the 17th century, I can imagine a Dr. Strangelove, Edward Teller type person taking over the world. In our world, it's far more likely to be Greta Thunberg.
Okay, I want to suggest a middle ground between those two options. It used to be that the reasonable fear of the Antichrist was a kind of wizard of technology. And now the reasonable fear is someone who promises to control technology, make it safe, and sort of usher in what, from your point of view, would be a kind of universal stagnation, right?
Well, it's more, that's more my description of how it would happen.
Right.
So I think people still have a fear of a 17th century Antichrist.
Yes.
We're still scared of Dr. Strangelove.
Right, but you're saying the real Antichrist would play on that fear and say, you must come with me to avoid Skynet, to avoid the Terminator, to avoid nuclear Armageddon.
Yes.
And I guess my view would be, looking at the world right now, that you would need a certain kind of novel technological progress to make that fear concrete, right? So I can buy that the world could turn to someone who promised peace and regulation if the world became convinced that AI was about to destroy everybody, right? But I think to get to that point, you need one of the accelerationist apocalyptic scenarios to start to play out, right? To get your peace and safety Antichrist, you need more technological progress. Like one of the key failures of totalitarianism in the 20th century was it had a problem of knowledge. It couldn't know what was going on all over in the world, right? So you need the AI or whatever else to be capable of helping the peace and safety totalitarian rule.
Hey,
so don't you think you need...
Which we always say they're going to mix AI with the C-hit, man. Yeah, and they keep talking about you need this big technological progress. Well, the chip, man, the chip is the link between man and machine, man.
I was meditating on that the other day. He might use that as a means to protect you from AI. You know, they can make it look like one is going rogue. You know, they say they got to confirm that you're not a robot. You know, the only way to do that is through biometrics. You know, so I could see them using AI to scare people towards having to use and authenticate themselves through their biology. You know, because they're creating all of this shit, man.
Essentially, you need your worst case scenario to involve some burst of progress that is then tamed and used to impose stagnant totalitarianism. You can't just get there from where we are right now.
Well, it can
Greta Thunberg's on a boat in the Mediterranean, right? You know, like protesting Israel. Like I just don't see the promise of safety from AI, safety from tech, even safety from climate change right now as a powerful universal rallying cry, absent accelerating change and real fear of total catastrophe.
I mean, these things are so hard to score, but I think environmentalism's pretty powerful. You know, I don't know if it's absolutely powerful enough to create a one world totalitarian state, but man, it is.
I think it is not.
It is
in its current form.
It is. I want to say it's the only thing people still believe in Europe. Like, you know, they believe in the green thing more than Islamic Sharia law or more than in, you know, the Chinese communist totalitarian takeover. And the future is an idea of a future that looks different from the present. The only three on offer in Europe are green, Sharia, and, you know, the totalitarian communist state. And the green one is by far the strongest. And
in a declining.
And in other words, he's basically trying to say that the Antichrist is going to come out of these green movements, environmentalism, and he's the good guy with technology, you know, as the alternative to that. You know, that's basically what he's trying to argue, but he's getting pressed by the other Edomite here.
Decaying Europe, that is not a dominant player in the world.
It's always in a context,
right?
And then I would, you know, I don't know, you know, we had this really complicated history with the way nuclear technology worked, and you know, we didn't really get to, you know, a totalitarian one world state, but you know, by the 1970s, one account of the stagnation is that the runaway progress of technology had gotten very scary, and that, you know, Baconian science, it ended at Los Alamos, and then it was okay. It ended there, and we didn't want to have any more. And you know, when Charles Manson took LSD in, you know, the late 60s and started murdering people, what he saw on LSD, what he learned was that you could be like Dostoevsky, an anti-hero in Dostoevsky, and everything was permitted. And of course, not everyone became Charles Manson, but in
Charles
Manson,
but
in my telling of the history, everyone became as deranged as Charles Manson.
But Charles Manson did not become the Antichrist and take over the world, right? We're ending in the apocalyptic.
No, but my telling of the history of the 1970s is the hippies did win, and we landed on the moon in July of 1969. Woodstock started 3 weeks later, and with the benefit of hindsight, That's when progress stopped and the hippies won. And yeah, it was not literally Charles Manson.
Okay, but you're just. I want to stay with the Antichrist just to end, right? Because you're retreating. You're saying, okay, environmentalism is already pro stagnation and so on. Okay, let's agree with all that.
I'm just saying,
but we're not living under. We're not living under the Antichrist right now. We're just stagnant, right? And you're positing that something worse could be on the horizon that would make stagnation permanent, that would be driven by fear. And I'm suggesting that for that to happen, there would have to be some burst of technological progress that was akin to Los Alamos that people are afraid of. And I guess this is my very specific question for you, right? Is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great,
See, I got a scripture to go with this. Because this is basically, showing how Esau is going to use these technological advances to enforce force upon the people, man. Mm-hmm. Like these technologies and these advancements are going to lead to blood being shed. Right. That's how serious it is. But this is Isaiah 45:7. It says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Drop down, ye heavens, from above, and let the skies pour down righteousness. Let the earth open, and let them bring forth salvation, and let righteousness spring up together. I, the Lord, have created it. But this is the point. Isaiah 45:9. Woe unto him that striveth with his maker. Let the potsherds strive with the potsherds of the earth. Shall the clay say unto him that fashioned it, what makest thou, or thy work? He hath no hands. So say, woe to him that striveth with his maker. And that's what, the nation of Esau, Edom, is dedicated to doing, is, ultimately being as far away from the Most High as possible.
Yeah, that's right. That's why you got to edit every goddamn thing. That's why it's not a natural fruit or vegetable in the grocery store. Because that's him striving with the Most High. Everything the Lord created naturally, he's had to go back with him, go have a back and forth with him, But if I got to appreciate God on that one. This is the book of Psalm 64:2. It says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. All right. And so these people are in secret council. They meet every year, even just at the Bilderberg meeting or getting ready for one of those meetings. I think they got the Bilderbergs in like 2 weeks. But he was just outside being questioned because they have these councils. Okay. And what do you think their MO is? Verse 4 says that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? All right. This is why he's trying to he's basically describing himself here. He made AI and all of these technologies, and now he's saying that you got to look over there. It's not me. But it's too late because everybody knows what Palantir is. Everybody's passing it around on TikTok. Everybody's is up on this game. And it says they search out iniquity. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. Okay. And that's what AI is. Okay. It's a tool to search things out. Because he wants left-hand knowledge of what is, but he can't get it. But the main point, I'll go down to verse 8. It says, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. And so that's why you got this Edomite confounding this guy on his whole principles,
Okay.
We're not going to have any.
No, you got it. Yeah, you can keep playing. It's all right.
more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah.
More that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe. But
yeah, hold on one second, bro. This devil, bro. This is Sirach 12:10. It says, "Never trust thine enemy, like his iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, take good heed and be aware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass. And thou shalt know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away." I had to bring that out because this is him trying to soften up, like he's not the authoritarian dictator, and he's getting called out by this other Edomite, man. So this is beautiful,
Okay.
You gotta appreciate us.
Yeah. This is well, can you play like the last 20 seconds on that one more time?
Maybe be using the tools in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing. I
mean, to be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Right there. Right there. He said, "How do you get the world to submit a permanent authoritarian rule? Is creating chaos, man."
Yeah.
All right. People don't like their everyday lives fucked up, man.
Mm-hmm.
As we always say, these people thrive on convenience.
Right.
They expect the bar to be open. They expect the grocery stores to be there. They expect the fucking mall to be open to do whatever. They expect the Amazon packages to come in whenever. But when things are uncertain and things are in the air, they're willing to do whatever whatever the government wants to have that stability and that consistency.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right, man. And they're sowing chaos right now, man. Just the fact that you can't grow your own food, they systematically did this. Everything is trucked into 18-wheelers. You slowly but surely are basically you're basically helpless here now. You got to go to him for everything, man. There's no self-sustainability. You got to get a permit to do chickens or whatever in your own backyard. All of these things are to get you closer and more reliant to centralized power.
Okay.
Precept. This is a book of Luke 21:34, and it says, "And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with suffering and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come on all of them that dwell on the face of the whole earth." All right, so these people what they don't realize that's loving this technology is they setting themselves up, because like the brother said, convenience, so over obsessed with convenience. It done got to the point now you can create a whole resume and get hired on a job just by asking what you want on ChatGPT, and it'll fill out everything and word it perfectly, to where you don't really too much need a whole lot of the need for training and actually knowing how to do something is disappearing with this damn devil's tech, with this AI shit, man.
Okay.
And then when they perfectly perfect it, for like Elon Musk is doing with the Neuralink in the head, hey, I was bringing out in that lesson I did yesterday, they done developed this thing so far, it's so cold that they can basically do telepathy, and they can transfer the memories of one person to another. So if you imagine somebody that went to the whole fucking Shaolin temple, right? Became a kung fu master. He spent, 10, 20, 30 years training. They can put that device in his head and transfer all of that information instantly to another person's mind. That's how convenient this shit is, man.
Niggas gonna sign up for that, boy.
So, that's why if you come and you're basically in the spirit of the Christ, which Christ goes into, our Lord and Savior. This ain't your Savior, man. This ain't your salvation. Is this devil's technology?
Yeah, that's right. Niggas gonna want the Javante Davis download. Well, they gonna pay $1,000 for that. Yeah, nigga.
That's why she when you played that video earlier going into the wearables, that electronic tattoo, she mentioned superpowers. That's with the brother, and you being able to transfer, because it went into more than that, man. Being able to kind of pretty much read minds and transfer abilities and access memories of somebody else. All.
Yeah. Hey, eventually they're gonna do that total recall shit where you can have a whole different experiences you ain't never had through fucking AI, man.
Right. But what he not telling you is that he only telling you that you can read information. That's lucky, brother. You say?
Yeah, Salaki. Yeah, I was gonna say, and they mentioned that in that TED Talks. When it's going into the devices in the head, he said that eventually you'll be able to transfer experiences from one person to another. So you got somebody that go to Bali, or somewhere on some island somewhere, that whole vacation, him smashing a fine chick, snorkeling and shit, going on boats, seeing all the scenic views. Imagine basically creating a whole package deal of that vacation and giving it to somebody. So they go on that vacation just by downloading the information and experience everything that person did, including feeling everything too.
Yeah. They show you that in Cyberpunk. They show you that in Cyberpunk. It's called brain dances. You pretty much can you can pretty much experience what somebody else went through. And they also proposing this like a quote unquote prison for the future, but pretty much you would be able to, if you got convicted or some shit, you would be able to serve your sentence in a moment. If you had like that chip, but you would pretty much be able to experience everything you put the victim through.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's another side of this shit, man. Esau gonna be fucked up.
Yeah. You gonna be able to just put thoughts in your head, man.
Yeah.
Just sow discord, man. That's why we gotta get the fuck out of here.
Okay.
All of this before GTA 6.
But again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe. But is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and we've submitted.
That's what Esau's telling you, man. He's the one telling you about peace and safety, man. Trump came up there and said this is going to be a golden age. That's what he promised you with Liberation Day, man. But when you look at it, you look closely at this legislation and all these executive orders, he's about to destroy a whole hell of a lot of people. That's how these demons talk, man.
Committed to, the FDA regulates not just drugs in the U.S., but de facto in the whole world, because the rest of the world defers to the FDA. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission effectively regulates nuclear power plants all over the world. People, you can't design a modular nuclear reactor and just build it in Argentina. They won't trust the Argentinian regulators. They're going to defer to the U.S. And so it's at least a question about why we've had 50 years of stagnation. And one answer is we ran out of ideas. The other answer is that something happened culturally where it wasn't allowed. And then the cultural answer can be sort of a bottom-up answer, that it was just some transformation of humanity into this sort of more docile kind of a species, or it can be at least partially top-down, that there is this, this machinery of government that got changed into this stagnations thing. I think something like this. Nuclear power was supposed to be the power of the 21st century, and
just to cut this point, he's talking about why technology stagnated, because the Most High is the one that decides the technology goes forth in the earth. This is Isaiah 54:16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth coals for fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. So the Most High is in control of progress. He was the reason you were riding horses 20 years before, and in the next 20 years you dropping nuclear weapons, man. You got electrical grids. These are things that wisdom comes out of the heavens to accomplish the Lord's work, man. Okay, so nuclear weapons are the Most High, and so if you have a stagnation in technology, that's because the Most High wants to prolong this thing. We were waking up around that time. Abba Bivens coming on the scene. It ain't go just straight from him just being able to make a nuke straight to World War III. Ezekiel 37 had to come to pass.
It somehow has gotten off-ramped all over the world on a worldwide basis,
So in a sense, we're already living under a moderate rule of the Antichrist in that telling. Do you think God is in control of history?
Man, this is again like I think that there's always room for human freedom and human choice. These things are, or at least
this nigga don't believe in God, man. What are you talking? Look at this nigga, man.
The Most High is not in all his thoughts
at all, bro. You can ask, is God in control of history? That shit irritated him. You could tell. He's a free willer, man. Okay, this nigga think he can just do whatever the hell he wants on the Lord's earth. Okay, who's giving it to the Israelites. You see, but this is Isaiah 29:15. It says, "Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord Yahweh, and their works are in the dark, and they say, who seeth us and who knoweth us?" All right, that's what you have here. Secret counsels in the dark. They think don't nobody would know what's going on, but they're so wicked they don't realize they're being exposed. And even when they get exposed, they're still going to double down on it. It says, verse 16, "Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay." And that goes into them taking natural things, making them unnatural, and then trying to convince you that it's natural, like a man being a woman. You can't turn things upside down and act like it's completely normal. It says, "For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not, or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding." All right, and this is basically the blueprint of how this guy runs a society, upside down.
Yeah, Con. Real quick precept to that back you up. This is 2 Thessalonians 2:3. It says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition," which goes into destruction. It says, "Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he is God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. And like, you know, that precept you just grabbed in Isaiah, you know, they'll turn a woman into a man or turn a man into a woman, you know, or give you AI to pretty much be your new God. That's Esau, man. It's these devils right in front of you, playing God, man. You know, and the scriptures say the day of the Lord wouldn't come except this devil be revealed. Here you are, you got the Edomite that's interviewing them. Pretty much, the precept went out earlier. They own tongue shall fall upon themselves, man. All right, Peter Tilson, they're trying to say, oh well, you know, it's not us, it's these other people. And the dude that's interviewing them is like, nah, the same shit y'all doing, man. That's, you know, that's pretty much what it is.
That nigga tried to blame Greta Thunberg, bro. Talking about this green movement and environmentally. Bro, no, we all see what you niggas are doing with this AI shit. They was watching we over there in Gaza, bragging about how y'all was able to kill all them kids proudly, you know. And now we're supposed to not look at you like you're the problem now.
Right.
See? But that son of perdition precept, they use that to go into the so-called right. You know, when they say the wicked shall not be, that's what they use to try to make it seem like there's some niggas gonna come out before the Lord get back and try to take over the earth. No, the son of perdition is talking about the Edomite rulership. You know, but y'all can get y'all last precepts together. I'm gonna play a little bit more of this.
At least where we are today, these things are, you know, they're not, you know, they're not absolutely predetermined one way or another.
Right.
But
you know, God wouldn't leave us forever under the rule of a mild, moderate, stagnationist antichrist, right? That can't be how the story ends, right?
It's attributing too much causation to God is always a problem. You know, if I don't know, there are different Bible verses I can give you, but I'll give you John 15:25, where Christ says, "They hated me without cause." And so it's all these people that are persecuting Christ have no reason, no cause for why they're persecuting Christ. And if we interpret this as a ultimate causation verse, they want to say, I'm persecuting because God caused me to do this. God is causing everything. And the Christian view is anti-Calvinist. God is not behind history. God is not causing everything. If you say God's causing everything,
but God is. But wait,
you're scapegoating God.
But God is behind. But God is behind Jesus Christ entering history because God was not going to leave us in a stagnationist, decadent Roman Empire, right? So at some point, God is going to step in.
I am not
right?
I am not that Calvinist, and
that's not Calvinism, though. That's just Christianity. God will not leave us eternally, staring into screens and being lectured by Greta Thunberg, right? He will not abandon us to that fate.
There is a great, I don't know, for better and for worse, I think there's a great deal of scope for human action, for human freedom. If I thought these things were deterministic, you might as well, maybe just accept it. The lions are coming. You should just have some yoga and prayerful meditation and wait while the lions eat you up.
In other words, he's not a predeterminist, which means he doesn't believe in prophecy. See, that's basically what he's saying. You might as well just wait and be there. Well, this nigga's full of shit, man. This is Psalms chapter 10, verse 7. It says his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. And under his tongue is mischief and vanity. Okay? The fact that he's even bringing out precepts is proof that this nigga's up to something. But he's clearly an atheist, man. This nigga, he believes in Satan, really. You know? So you can't trust anything these guys say and how they dress and everything, man. You know? It says, verse 8, he sitteth in the lurking places of the villages, and the secret places doeth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor. Okay? And when you look at what the meaning of the word Palantir, this company that he runs, that's exactly what it means. It's basically a magical sphere that spies on everybody and relays information. Okay? He's spying on poor people. Why? To sell them more so they can take out a 4-payment loan to buy some bullshit they don't need, man. He'll literally spy on you to do that. You see, he lieth in wait and he lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doeth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. You know, so that's all. That's what this all is. That's why the internet was created, was to herd the world together and get the minds of the people all lumped together, so he could sell you some bullshit, man. You know?
Yeah, Con and Esau spent years doing case studies on niggas, just studying niggas to get y'all to fall for something like this, man. And believe that these immigration actions now are gonna tie in with that digital system. You know, especially if you want to get back into this country, we could easily see them in place in a system like that. So these guys here, you know, trying to say that God gave us the ability to write our own history, that's not true, man.
Mm-hmm.
You all are fulfilling revelation every day.
Right.
This devil, you know, spirit, Elder, my lawyer, just quoted the precept I'm going to bring out. But yeah, man, this guy quoted John 15:25. Says, "But this come to pass that the world might be fulfilled that is written in their law. They hated me without cause." So he's trying to say, if we come against his technology system, we're hating him without a cause. No, the Edomite is calling him out on all this shit, showing you the problem with it, and we're bringing out all those precepts and everything this damn devil's doing, what he wants to do with the MOTB, how it lines up with Revelation 13 chapters being an MOTB. Ultimately, you know, this whole beast system is connected. You know, this AI shit is connected to that tech. You know, so we are to call out the evil. You know, you see evil, you call it out, man. You know, we set our face against Mount Seir. We cry out against this bullshit. We ain't hate you without a cause, you damn devil. That's what these damn Christians always do. These white Christians, man, they're notorious for trying to use the scripture to say, hey, don't come against me or you're coming against the scripture. That's that plantation Christianity bullshit. You know?
Right. Yeah, this nigga loves to play the victim, boy.
Yeah, puts himself as the authority.
But I want to bring out that other precept my lawyer posted. Isaiah 45:7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, Yahweh, do all these things. Right, man. So he's talking about, God didn't do this to do that. He didn't create history. He created everything, man. He created you, devil, sitting in this fucking chair. You know, he created his ass, to bring forth this prophecy, man.
That's right, man. This fucking demon, man. Yeah, bring our last precepts out, y'all got them.
This is. Oh,
like you got it.
You got it.
This is the book of this Job 20 and 23. It says, when he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him and shall rain it upon him while he is eating, which is pretty much going into their enterprise. This undertaking these devils are setting up. Everything was just being discussed in this video, man. The Palantir, the AI, the wearables that RFK is trying to have all you people wear within the next few years. When he's about to fill his belly, it says the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. It is drawn and cometh out of the body, yea, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall, terrors are upon him. All right, and just grabbing that because this devil, the Lord is only going to allow Esau to get so far, man. Because scriptures say if pretty much if the Lord didn't return, then no flesh would be saved. This would have a bunch of fucking androids and artificial, humans and shit walking around, man, and no form of life whatsoever. And that's why the Lord has an end date in mind to where we know he's gonna get a certain amount of people chipped. That's the prophecy, man. He's gonna get a certain amount of people to be enticed by the system that are gonna fall for it. And hey, shortly after that, the Lord is gonna let those missiles fly, man. That's why when we with just Iran and Israel and shit heating up over there, that's also an indicator of how quick this thing is coming.
That's right, brother.
This is Job 34 and 22. It said, there is no darkness nor shadow of death where the workers of iniquity may hide themselves. For he will not lay upon man more than right, that he should enter
into judgment with the Most High. So say, there's no darkness nor shadow of death where the workers of iniquity shall may hide themselves. And they, they hiding themselves behind this technology. They hiding themselves behind this science, man. Dr. Fauci didn't dupe the whole world in 2020 in the name of science. And now you people look like fucking idiots, man. And once again, as Brother Yara always say, these devils gonna run the same play, man. They're gonna tell you to get a fucking wearable, even up to the point they're gonna tell you to get a micro C-hip in the name of science and technology and safety and peace.
Yep, that's right.
But it say Job 34:24, it says, he shall break in pieces mighty men without number and set others in their stead. Speaking of the Edomites, he's gonna set the Israelites in their stead. Say, therefore he knoweth their works, and he overturneth them in the night, so that they are destroyed. He striketh them as wicked men in the open sight of others, because they turned back from him and would not consider any of his ways. Right. So the Edomite turned his back from Yahweh Shah, man. He did that when he sold his birthright. And now we seeing, the spirit of this devil turning his back from the Most High by wanting to be the Most High.
Right.
I got another quick one. This is Luke 21:36. Says, watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. So ultimately we just want to be counted worthy and stand before Yahweh Shai and get delivered up out of here. So we just gotta, know how to filter out all this bullshit that they're gonna be throwing at us and all these lies. And that's what inspires brothers to do sit downs like this, man. So we can provide that wisdom to those that may not know what's going on, what's happening. So we're blowing the warning trumpet, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Scriptures say where there is no vision of people perish. So that's why the Lord set the prophets up, man, to warn, pretty much break it down to you, make it plain upon tables, so you can know exactly what to watch. When this shit goes fully into effect.
Right. Con, brother. So we'll end it there, man. So with that, we're going to give all praises, glory, and honor that's due to Yahweh, Hashem, of honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessing to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect. Shalom, Barakatham, Kwam Yasharallah,
Kwam Yasharallah.
Abba Ball.
Shalom.
Shalom.